All right. Looks like we are officially live. Let's make sure everything's looking okay. Let's let YouTube get booted up. There we go. So I just wanted to do a real quick stream um, to kind of talk about, you know, the purpose of, what we're doing here, um, the future of what we're going to be doing here. And I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on, Marvel Rivals. Everybody's giving their thoughts nowadays. I've got plenty of my own. Um, a lot that, I'm sure everyone's heard before. Um, Maybe some that you haven't. So, you know, I feel like, you just need to get them out every now and then. Um, so basically, as far as the channel, I've been getting a couple views here and there. It's much appreciated. I'm still obviously trying to find my footing as far as what I want this to be or what I want this to look like. Um, Long story short, I got a full-time job. It's pretty demanding. I'm trying to stick to the streaming schedule, but at this point in time, I'm pretty busy, so it's pretty hard to keep to it. Um, as well as just, expanding and doing more. I'd love to actually be making like proper good, quote unquote content. I'd love to learn, some editing and whatnot to, take care of that kind of stuff and, you know, learn some other skills as far as content creation goes. But that's coming down the road. So right now, where I'm standing is, I'm just a guy that enjoys games. And I figure, why not do it on camera if a few people trickle in that like it and decide to stick around? Hell yeah, that's pretty cool. If I make a few bucks, I make a few bucks. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be here anyway playing, so there ain't no harm in, spending some money and, flipping some software on while I do it, basically. So that's kind of where the channel sits now. I'm not really on a schedule. I probably won't be on a schedule for some time. But I'm gonna be here periodically, just gaming, learning some new games, getting into single player games. I've been really into stuff like PoE 2 lately, so I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of that on stream. I'll have some, chill, turn your brain off, play Battlefield streams. And we're just going to be doing that. I mean, I'm just going to be playing whatever, catches my eye, basically. But to move on to the meat of why I really wanted to start streaming today. And this is just going to be quick. I'm just going to give my thoughts on this. Give me like 10 minutes of your time. And then I may or may not be back streaming later tonight. But Marvel Rivals. So I've streamed a few times now. The game I've played has been Marvel Rivals. I've played Marvel Rivals since release. I've played a lot of Marvel Rivals. Well over 1,000 hours. And I don't mean like 1,050. I mean well over. A lot of really high highs, a lot of low lows. But right now, I've been playing a lot off stream, duo queuing with my buddy Big Fella, and then playing on my alt solo queue, as well as, I have another account to actually like properly learn new characters. And I finally made the decision the other night to, uninstall it and take an extended break. And I don't know if this is going to be an extended break like I've done in the past. Because this will be like the actual, this will actually be the third time I've actually stepped away. Oh, here comes the lag. This will actually be the third time I've stepped away from playing Rivals. And at this point, I feel like you kind of got to take the hint and maybe make this a more permanent thing. So, as of now, I don't want to be too pessimistic about it, but I'm at the very least on an extended break from Rivals. Now, that's probably not important to anybody. That in and of itself shouldn't be. But I do definitely have a lot of thoughts about Rivals. And there's a lot of people complaining about balance, which you could argue was practically a day one issue. There's a lot of people, you know, complaining about the quote-unquote community. I'll get to that here in a sec. And really, I mean, it is a combination of both. I do think the balance is awful. Every number is overtuned. Almost every alt, every alt charges too fast. And it's way, you know, the game is centered around alt and alt economy. In a way that I think is just really unhealthy. The game has too much of a rock, paper, scissory element to it. That really just makes it uninteresting and unfun. You can tell, like I've been playing a little bit of Overwatch. I might start playing that on stream. I know nothing of what I'm doing, but I get on there, I queue up Soldier 76, and I have a good time. And, you know, I don't know anything that's going on, but it doesn't feel like a chaotic mess, which is what Marvel Rivals is. And that's really the sad thing when it comes down to it. You know, people talk about the balancing and the design philosophy of like what's going on with NetEase and Rivals. And I really think you can sum up the design philosophy of Rivals with one word. And that word is more. It's just more. We just turn everything up to 11 over here at NetEase. That's what we're doing. It's too much damage, too much healing. It's too much everything. And that can be really fun when, you know, the highs of the game kick in and the dopamine kicks in. The highs are really high. But what is also true is that the lows are unbearably low. And, you know, I have gotten to a point with the game where I'm like, if this is a game I need to take periodic breaks from, maybe the writing is on the wall and this is not something I should be involving myself in as far as playing the game. It's stressful. It's not a competitive game by any means. There's comp there, and comp is arguably, despite its many shortcomings, the only tolerable thing to play on the game, and even still, it falls well short of, you know, what comp should be. And, you know, even with the balancing issues, I feel like a lot of things could be forgiven if the second big issue with this game gets solved. And it's not going to be solved by the devs. And it's the player base. I'm not going to say community, because it's not a community. It's no more a community of like, you know, you wouldn't walk into like a comedy club and go, look at this community in here. They're not a community. They're facing the same direction. They have nothing. You don't know if they have anything more in common than that. They like the guy on stage and they're looking at him. Marvel Rivals is the same way. This isn't a community. These are a bunch of people that are tilt queuing the same game over and over and over again, and they can't freaking stop. That's all we have in common, is that we're sitting here plugging away on this game. Nobody communicates on this game. Nobody goes into a game wanting to win. Like, look, I criticize people's gameplay all the time, but I'm going to be, and I try to be pretty self-aware. I'm a peak GM1 player. I'm not the most mechanically sound, but I have a brain stem. I have a functioning prefrontal cortex. So, unfortunately, that does make me quite a bit better than the average Rivals player, if I'm just being honest. I leveled an alt to learn Spider-Man, because at one point in time, a couple months back, I was like, I want to learn Spider-Man. He looks so fun to play. And I can tell you right now, you can get from bronze to... I got from bronze to gold 1 doing one combo. One combo. I have no mechanical skill for Spider-Man. But you swing into the back line. You can swing over the enemy team in those ranks because they don't turn around. There's no, the response time is insane. They have no reflexes. They have no self-preservation instinct. But anyway, I say all that to say this. I'm not the most mechanically sound player, obviously. I've been streaming, and it sucks when I'm streaming and I have a shitty game and I know it's my fault. And I'm like, ooh, man, if anybody's watching this, they're kind of seeing me shit the bed right now. But it happens. It is what it is. I'm all about honesty. I'm not going to sit here and, edit something to make my gameplay look better or cut something out. Like my last stream was really bad and I cut it off early because, I was doing bad and I wasn't having a good time. It is what it is. It happens. But the thing is, a lot of the other issues that myself and I think a lot of other people have with the game would be solved if this player base would get their shit together. Sincerely. I've been on the subreddit since the game came out. I've been looking around at the discourse, and I've even involved myself in quite a bit of the discourse. I have been at times part of the problem. I'm not trying to sit here and be holier than thou. It is what it is. We all get frustrated. We air out our frustration, blah, blah, blah. It is what it is. But at this point, the game has been out for over a year. Why are we not communicating in comp? Why? Why are we not communicating in comp? It drives me crazy. It's very simple. This is one of the big things that happen in the game. Is that people just... they don't communicate in comp. And if they did, I feel like their problems would just get so much better. Their problems would get so much better. But nobody wants to communicate. And you can tell very quickly when you get into a game who is communicating and who is not. Spoiler alert. The team that's winning is probably communicating. The team that's losing is most likely not. Nobody ever wants to communicate. Because it's a toxic quote unquote community. Well, guess what? It all becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. We don't calm. We isolate ourselves from each other. We're not even talking to people who are on our quote unquote team. So then that breeds animosity, which breeds toxicity, and it all just becomes... we're just going in a circle at this point. At a certain point, everybody has to nut up, turn on their mics, and make an effort. And be accountable. Because that is honestly the other facet of not communicating that I feel like is coming into play a lot. You can see there's 10 million Reddit posts about it. Oh, turn off your mic. Oh, dude, I turn off my mic and the chat. Oh, isn't that fucking convenient? So you never have to get criticized for your performance. rightly or wrongly, because it will happen wrongly. Of course. Of course. But that's on you to assess yourself and go, I don't know, man. Like, I've got 30 KOs and 15 finals. Maybe don't flame me. And you have to, like, take a breath and move on. Or if you're 5-8 and someone is flaming you, you have to be able to go, hey, dude, chill. I know I'm not doing good. I'll switch. Or you can be really nice. You can be in a really good mood and go, hey, man, what do you think I should switch to? I'll switch to it. I'll give it a try. What do you think will work in this situation? You know, but people just don't want to do that. So I've decided to take a break. Because it's just not something that I enjoy all that much anymore. So from here, it's just going to be learning, growing, playing some single player games, learning new stuff in the games I currently play. I play a lot of PoE 2, and, you know, a lot of the stuff that factors into endgame I still don't understand at all. So maybe we understand that and we become better at that game. But right now, Rivals is just in a bad place. It's not a serious game. It's not a competitive game. It is quite obviously made by a mobile game company. And it's not going to change. It's going to need to be severely overhauled to get into a better place. And that's just never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So, if you can deal with the chaos and the BS and the us against the world every 30 seconds, God bless you, keep going. If not, don't feel bad about going and doing something else you'll enjoy. Everybody owes it to themselves to do that. All right, everybody, take it easy. If you stopped in, I appreciate it. I might be on here in a little bit, but for now, do some stuff around the house, and yeah, might see you in a little bit.